As we chant the refuges, I invite you to consider that when we take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, it's something larger than ourselves. And it's also something that we embody. As we take refuge, we're learning to embody. We're learning to find the presence of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha within our own being. And that's a very important part of our entering into a sense of refuge. It's something bigger than ourselves. It's something that connects us with our spiritual ancestors and the body of the Sangha, and with those who we are also sustaining and maintaining the Dharma to pass on to in the future. So just this sense of the inner and the outer alive in us. And please come. There's some sabutons and cushions. Just waiting a moment too. So I'm going to chant the refuges and precepts which are in that folder. So, Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Sangham Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham Saranang Gacchami. So as I chant the 5 precepts, I'm going to pause before each one. After each one, and you can read the English if you like. You can perhaps reflect on what this means in your life, and also reflect on what it means not only to refrain from doing harm, but to constructively work on supporting life, constructively work on being generous with what we have, and speaking the truth, and cultivating clarity of mind, and so on, and cultivating a wholesome sexuality and sense of what is erotic in how we live our lives, the beautiful erotic. So just really cultivating, reflecting on, contemplating what these mean for us, because we've been reflecting on them for, well, since the beginning of the year, really. So. Panati pata veramani sika padam samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani sika padam samadhiyami. Kamesu michatara veramani sika padam samadhiyami. Musawada veramani sika padam samadhiyami. Sura maraya maja pamadatana veramani sika padam samadhiyami. Idam nisilam maga phala nyanasa pachayo hotu. Sadhu, 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 anumodami. So let's begin our practice with those commitments to refuge and those protections of sila, of the precepts, to remind us to meet each moment of this practice with a whole heart, with a deep commitment to show up, to not turn away from whatever is unfolding in the mind, and to bring that quality of mindfulness, attention, awareness, non-judging, not getting caught up in wanting and not wanting, just opening to each moment through the five senses, each moment in the sixth sense, the mind, conceptual experience. Turning toward, bringing a quality of curiosity, interest, acceptance, engagement. Wise engagement. So whatever posture you're in, and whether it's sitting on a chair, on a bench, on a cushion, or lying down, or standing, I invite you to bring a full presence to the body, being fully present in the body. Whatever that means for you in this moment. It's not something that there's some ideal that we need to strive to attain, and it's not the ideal that we fall short, but bringing that exploration of what is it to be present in this body in this moment. Noticing sensations, how they, especially how they come and go, how they shift, how they intensify and fade. Noticing how this is not in our control. It's just happening. It's happening. The body is sensing, breathing, and functioning in so many ways that we're not aware of. Perhaps you notice that there's a quality of energy in the body. maybe restless, maybe sleepy, maybe calm, maybe joyful. And again, just opening with curiosity and acceptance and interest to how is this body, heart, mind manifesting. If it's pleasant, we might want to lean in toward it, to keep it going in a certain way. If it's unpleasant, we might want to turn away from it, to put something else in its place. And we can be mindful of that too, of that tendency. And if it's neutral, we might think it's boring. And miss the opportunity to be present to the openness of what is simply neutral, not particularly pleasant. We don't get excited about it and want more of it. Not particularly unpleasant. We don't have aversion to it and want to get rid of it. Just neutral, like the touch of the air on the skin, the feeling of the breath rising and falling, sense of pressure in the body in contact with the earth. as the mind collects and settles in the body, present in the body. Expanding, inviting you to expand your sense of presence in the body to include the whole body. And as you sense this, the shape of the body, whatever posture the body is comported in, abiding in the body, breathing, inviting the body to become calm, to relax, and at the same time to be attentive and alert without tensing the body. Explore perhaps how the body is not a hard-edged experience, but the boundaries of the body feel permeable. See if that's your experience. Feel soft. Connecting with the space around the body. And as we rest in mindfulness of the body, whatever that is for you, whether it's just for a moment or for a breath or two breaths or more extended, this resting in awareness is we're knowing the awareness. There's a resting in the knowing element. And we can find a sense of stability in that the mind is not being carried away by the flow of sensations or the flow of thoughts, but becomes the space. Kind of a metaphor can be that the mind is the space within which these psychophysical happenings are arising and passing away. As the mind is drawn into engaging with sensory experience, including mental experience, just without any judgment, just notice the tendency of the mind to disconnect from being embodied, to lean out to sound, to lean out to thoughts of past and future, to lean out in wanting, to lean out in pushing away. And I invite you to explore noticing all of these experiences within, close in the body-mind awareness, and perhaps grounding yourself in the heart or in the lower belly, the hara. To remember that whatever we're experiencing it within the body-mind. As we come to the end of our formal practice, I invite you to bring into awareness beings that we may know and also beings that we may not personally know but care about, who are perhaps suffering, holding them with care and compassion. and an intention for their safety and well-being. And also beings who are thriving and joyful and opening our hearts to share their joy, and support them in their lives, in the skillful unfolding of their lives. And dedicating the blessings, the goodness that we've experienced in this practice. Whatever has been opened up, let go, lightened, whatever moment we've seen the rising and falling of any moment of experience. However, our heart is opened with kindness toward ourselves and others. Let's dedicate this goodness, this blessing, this merit to all beings. May our lives and our practice serve and support the happiness, well-being, and liberation of all beings. Let's take a moment just to release the posture. If you want to stand, you're welcome to do that. So yeah, we're just taking a little moment to give ourselves break. Okay, so finding your way back, please, or if you want to continue standing, that's fine. I'm just going to move into a short reflection. So over the course of the year, since January, we've been reflecting on the precepts, on actually in a broader sense, on sila. Sila being translated very often as ethics or morality, and really it's a big word that includes ethics, morality, non-harming. It's a word that points to our interconnection with all of life. And so we've been exploring this, how important it is for our practice, for our practice of sati, of mindfulness, to become aware of how there are deeply embedded habits of mind, of speech, of body, which cause harm to the life around us. So even unintentionally, of course, they're embedded, they're unconscious. And so shining a light of awareness on these habits. And it is such a joyful and beautiful process to do this, to let go of habits that cause suffering to ourselves and others. And it's a lifelong process, of course, it's an ongoing process. And so we have been exploring the 3 different traditions of Buddhism, the early Buddhist teachings, or Theravada, the Zen teachings, especially in the Zen peacemaker tradition, and the Tibetan Buddhist, particularly in the Bön tradition. And so the in the Zen tradition, and all of them have different iterations, so I've been kind of combining them and exploring them. And in the Zen tradition, they begin with, as part of the whole teaching on the precepts, they begin with the refuges. So, and we always begin with the refuges. And there are actually 10 precepts that they iterate, and we have blended them together and explored them over these past months. So if you've missed some of these and you're curious and want to find out what I've said about them, it's all in our archives of talks. So feel free to explore that. But in the Zen tradition, they end with the 10th precept, which is to not speak ill of or disparage the 3 refuges. So that's quite interesting. I find that quite interesting, to not speak ill of the 3 refuges. I don't imagine I would, like intentionally diss Buddha Dharma Sangha, like say, something bad about them, but it invites that precept, that iteration invites, are there ways that I disrespect or denigrate Buddha Dharma Sangha? And if we, and I started off today's practice talking about how really, when we take refuge in Buddha Dharma Sangha, we are taking refuge in something larger than ourselves, and we are also discovering and cultivating how do we embody these jewels, these treasures of Buddha Dharma Sangha. So do we denigrate or disrespect Buddha Dharma Sangha by getting so caught up in our drama that we forget who we are, that we forget this wise and kind being, this aspiring being to be the best that we can be in this moment. And so the teachings are asking us to contemplate how we do this, how we forget to find that refuge within ourselves, to remember that we are part of a lineage, a tradition, a vast body of teachings and practice, which are not can't be quantified. There's a sacred dimension that we can incline our attention towards, that can remind us that we're not just whatever this, terrible situation as we've defined it in the mind seems to be. So do we forget to care for ourselves? There's a Rumi poem which has the line that we remember. I don't remember the whole poem, but it has a kind of the sense of a drumbeat that we can think of as our breath or our heartbeat, and it can remind us to turn toward what saves us. He uses the expression to turn toward what saves you. So what saves us? What saves us from delusion? What saves us from despair? What saves us from feeling lost in any particular moment? There's another poem. I don't think it comes from an indigenous source, and it has a line. You are not lost. Raven knows where you are. The trees know where you are. So just to wake up, that to being found in this moment by the life around us, and being lost can be a delusion, can be something that we're imagining, can be a painful label that we're putting on what is very vast. So this not forgetting, not disparaging, not disrespecting Buddha Dharma Sangha can remind us to stay open to possibilities. To what are the possibilities? Sometimes we dismiss possibilities. We think, oh no, that's not for me. Or, like to me, when I chant the Refuges and I pay homage to the Buddha, the fully enlightened one, to me, that is paying homage to that possibility within myself. That possibility for all of us that we can awaken. It's so in this course that I've been doing, Foundations of Contemplative Care, and we've been exploring the precepts from the Zen perspective, and so there are a number of different quotes that we have available to us from on each of these precepts, and so I wrote a few of the quotes for this 10th precept from Bodhidharma. Bodhidharma was one of the patriarchs, we're called the patriarchs of Buddhism, who brought the teachings from India to China. And he says, self-nature is subtle and mysterious. In the realm of the one, not holding nihilistic concepts of ordinary beings and sages, is called the precept of not defaming the three treasures. I'll read it again. Self-nature is subtle and mysterious. In the realm of the one, not holding nihilistic concepts of ordinary beings and sages, is called the precept of not defaming the three treasures. That was powerful for me too, because what is it to hold a nihilistic concept? You know, to think that somebody is just that, to put them in a box, to dismiss them. You know, I mean, this mind does it all the time. You know, and I see it, and so, you know, in the moment of seeing, so may I always remember to awaken with kindness toward myself, and metta to myself and the sacred other, this other who is not other. The peacemakers, the Zen peacemaker tradition says, honoring my life as an instrument of peacemaking, honoring my life as an instrument of peacemaking. This is the precept of not thinking ill of the three treasures. So yeah, so remembering that this being, as limited, as ordinary as I feel, as you know, as caught as I feel, and still I can honor this being. We can each honor this being as an instrument of peacemaking. And how can we do that? What does it call us to? Robert Aitken Roshi says, not defaming the three treasures is a matter of finding them in your heart mind. And Stephanie Kaza says, knowing how deeply our lives intertwine, we vow to not abuse the great truth of the three treasures. So always, Stephanie Kaza repeats that phrase in her iteration of the precepts, knowing how deeply our lives intertwine. And that just really calls us into reflecting on that mystery of how deeply our lives, the lives of all beings, and, you know, and all of the earth, all of the trees, the sky, the waters, the plants, the seasons, how deeply we are intertwined with all of that. And may we not abuse the great truth of the three treasures. May we embody them in our lives. So, so we've come to the end of our formal time together, and I'd like to leave a little time in the big group for those who wish to stay to ask questions. So the group of those who are gathered here in this room, and those who are gathered in the Zoom room, the Zoom meditation hall. So and also I want to honor that some people may have to go. So so thank you. Just before we kind of let those go who are going to go, I just want to mention that there's a course I'm offering, which is on life, loss, and letting go. So it's inviting people who are working with loss, whether it's bereavement or illness, progressive illness, to come to a learning, practice, and kindness circle to reflect together on the Four Noble Truths and how we can relate to what we're experiencing in our lives in ways that perhaps are more skillful and liberating, without in any way diminishing that this is, a challenging practice. So, and so, so there's more information on this on the True North Insight website. You can find that on online courses, and also to thank you for whatever, Donna, that you wish to contribute. It supports me and my livelihood, and it supports the rental of this space to as we're slowly opening up and welcoming people to come together. Yeah, and so thank you for your practice. Thank you for coming. And so those who wish to sign off now, please do. And if you wish to stay a bit longer and open up a discussion, we'll continue.